Have you ever done the right thing and watched the people you trusted most punish you for it? Because one night, I missed my own engagement party. Not because I was careless, not because I didn't love him, but because a stranger's life was slipping away in front of me. And by the time I arrived, the doors weren't just closed. They were guarded like I was the enemy. At 2:17 a.m., the pager on the break room table screamed like it had been waiting for the worst possible moment. Leora Bennett jolted awake so fast she nearly knocked her water cup over. Her hair was flattened on one side, her hoodie twisted around her waist, and her eyes burned from the kind of exhaustion that doesn't go away after sleep. It just waits. Outside the hospital windows, the city was silent and dark, the kind of dark that makes every hallway sound louder. A nurse burst into the lounge. "Leora, ER needs you now. We've got a collapse." Young woman. No family on site. Leora didn't ask questions. She was already moving. She threw on her coat and ran, her shoes squeaking against the polished floor as alarms chirped in distant rooms like impatient birds. At the emergency bay, Dr. Miles Hargrove, the attending, was waiting with a face that told her everything before he spoke. 26-year-old female, he said quickly. Collapsed at a bus stop. Severe internal bleeding. We don't know why yet. She's crashing. Leora's stomach tightened. Tonight was supposed to be different. Tonight was supposed to be the night she wore the soft blue dress hanging in her locker. The night she stood beside Evan, smiled for photos, and let the world finally see her happy. But the woman on that gurney didn't have a night. She might not even have a morning. "I've got her," Leora said. Hargrove hesitated. "Leora, isn't your engagement party tonight?" Leora didn't even look up from the chart. "I'll still be there," she said, already washing in at the scrub sink. The operating room swallowed time. There was no phone, no party, no music, just the bright surgical lights and the steady, unforgiving truth of a body that was shutting down. They found the cause fast enough to be terrified. A ruptured vessel, a silent catastrophe. For hours, Leora worked with the kind of focus that turns a person into a machine. Except machines don't feel the tremor in their fingers when fatigue starts biting at the edges. Her back screamed. Her shoulders locked. Sweat collected under her cap and trickled down her neck like guilt. The anesthesiologist called out numbers that rose and fell like a cruel game. And still, Leora didn't stop. Not when her wrists ached. Not when the minutes turned into hours. Not when the nurse quietly said, "You should have been leaving already." Because the woman on the table wasn't a schedule problem. She was someone's entire world, even if nobody had shown up yet to prove it. Finally, near dawn, the monitor settled into a steadier rhythm. "Stabilizing," the anesthesiologist said. Leora exhaled so hard it felt like she'd been holding her breath since 2:17. Dr. Hargrove clapped her shoulder. "You did it. You pulled her back." Then softer, almost kindly. "Go. Before your life falls apart outside these walls." Leora changed in a hurry, in a locker room that smelled like bleach and worn-out hope. No makeup. No curls. Just a rushed ponytail and tired eyes staring back at her like they belonged to somebody older. When she reached the venue, an upscale rooftop lounge overlooking the river, she actually smiled for half a second. Because she saw people. A crowd near the entrance. "They're waiting for me," she thought. But as she stepped closer, the atmosphere felt wrong. Not excited, not concerned. Sharp. Then Maribel Cross, Evan's mother, moved forward with her arms folded like a judge preparing a sentence. Behind her stood Evan's cousins, his older sister, even his uncle, lined up shoulder to shoulder, forming a human barrier. Before Leora could speak, Maribel's voice cut through the night air. "Don't come any closer," she said. Leora blinked. "Maribel, there was an emergency." Maribel's eyes narrowed. "We don't care what excuse you rehearsed in the car." A man behind her muttered, loud enough to be heard. "She always does this. Always chooses work." Leora's chest tightened. "I saved someone's life. And you embarrassed my son," Maribel snapped. In front of everyone. Leora searched the line of faces, her voice dropping. "Where is Evan?" Maribel gave a small laugh, cold, satisfied. "He's inside, doing what a man does when he finally realizes what kind of woman he's with." Leora's heart stuttered. Then Maribel leaned in just enough to make it personal. "He's announcing the engagement with someone else." From behind the doors, Leora heard applause. Real applause. A cheer that sounded like celebration, like her absence had been turned into entertainment. Her vision tunneled. She could have argued. She could have begged to speak to him. But something inside her went quiet. Because in that moment, she understood something painful. Some people don't love your heart. They love the version of you that's convenient. And if your goodness ever costs them comfort, they'll punish you for being good. Leora took one step back, then another. And just as she turned away, head high, hands shaking, a sleek black SUV rolled up to the curb beside the crowd, and the passenger door opened. A man stepped out fast, scanning the entrance like he'd been searching for someone. And when his eyes landed on Leora, his expression broke, like relief, like gratitude, like something heavier than both. He walked straight to her and said, voice tight with emotion, "You're the doctor." Then he swallowed. "You saved my sister tonight." Leora froze. And every face in that line, every face that had just judged her, went pale. The man who stepped out of the black SUV didn't look like he belonged to this kind of rooftop celebration. He wasn't dressed for photos. No polished smile. No relaxed posture. He looked like someone who had been holding his breath for hours, and only now remembered how to inhale. He walked straight past the line of Evan's relatives like they were furniture. And when he stopped in front of Leora Bennett, his voice cracked slightly. "You're the surgeon," he said. "The one who didn't quit on her." Leora's throat went dry. She made it?" The man nodded hard, eyes shining. "She's alive. She's stable. And she asked for you when she woke up." Behind him, a woman stepped out of the SUV, older, wrapped in a light shawl despite the warm night air. Her face was puffy from crying, but her eyes were sharp. She stared at Leora like she was trying to memorize her. Then she grabbed Leora's hands with both of hers and whispered, like it was a sacred thing, "Thank you for giving me my daughter back." The rooftop entrance went silent. Not the normal kind of silence. The kind where people stop breathing because they realize they might be the villain in someone else's story. This was no random patient. This was no ordinary family. Because the man finally turned toward Maribel Cross and her wall of relatives and said, clear as glass, "I'm Adrian Vale." Every head snapped up. Leora had heard the name before. Everyone in the city had. Vale was the family behind the scholarship wing at the hospital, the Cancer Foundation Gala, the grants that kept entire programs alive. The kind of family people treated carefully, even when they didn't like them. Maribel's mouth opened, closed, opened again, and her tone changed so fast it was almost embarrassing. "Oh, Mr. Vale, we didn't realize." Adrian cut her off without raising his voice. "No," he said. "You didn't realize a career-obsessed woman could be the reason your family still gets to wake up tomorrow and pretend you're good people." Then he pointed, not aggressively, just factually, toward Leora's wrinkled coat, her messy hair, the faint red marks on her hands from gloves worn too long. "She came from an operating room," he continued, "and you greeted her like she was shame." Leora could feel the stares shifting. A few minutes ago, they were judging her. Now they were measuring how close they stood to the wrong side of power. And that somehow felt worse, because it proved something Leora didn't want to admit. They weren't sorry because they understood. They were sorry because they were afraid. The moment Evan finally appears, the doors to the venue opened. Music spilled out. Laughter. Glass clinking. Then Evan stepped into view, smiling at first, like he was walking out to fix a misunderstanding. But his smile collapsed when he saw Adrian Vale. And it collapsed completely when he saw who stood beside him. A young woman in a champagne-colored dress, beautiful, polished, and very clearly prepared to be chosen, hovered behind Evan's shoulder. Leora didn't recognize her personally, but she recognized the role. Evan's eyes locked onto Leora, panicked. "Leora, wait. Please. I didn't know you were." "Don't," Leora said softly. Her voice wasn't angry. It was empty. That emptiness scared him more than shouting ever could. Adrian turned to Evan. "Is it true?" he asked, calm. "You replaced her tonight because she was saving my sister's life?" Evan swallowed. "It's not like that." But the woman behind Evan, his new announcement, shifted awkwardly, and Leora saw it in her face. Even she hadn't expected it to be this ugly. Maribel rushed forward, desperate now, hands fluttering as if she could physically rearrange reality. "Leora, sweetheart," she said, voice coated in fake warmth, "come inside. Let's talk." We were emotional. Leora looked at her. Really looked. Then she said one sentence that landed like a quiet slap. "You don't get to call me sweetheart after you guarded a door like I was a disease." Maribel flinched. Adrian's mother squeezed Leora's hand. And Adrian said, "You don't have to stay here another second." Leora chooses her exit. Leora turned her head toward the open doors. For a moment, she could see the party clearly. The lights. The decor. The staged happiness. A life that looked perfect from outside. A life that would have demanded she shrink herself until she fit someone else's comfort. She thought about the woman on the operating table. A stranger. A life that could have ended because the world is careless and brutal and fast. And she realized something simple. If she had chosen the party over the surgery, she might have kept Evan. But she would have lost herself. So she stepped backward. One step, then another. And she walked toward the SUV, not running, not crying, not explaining. Just leaving. Because some rooms don't deserve closure. They deserve your absence. The first safe breath of the night. Inside the car, the city lights streaked across the windows like soft fire. Adrian sat in the front passenger seat, silent, letting the quiet do its work. His mother sat beside Leora in the back and said gently, "My daughter's name is Mina. She's stubborn. When she wakes up fully, she's going to want to see you." Leora blinked. "Why?" "Because," the older woman said, voice trembling, "she remembers your voice. She remembers you telling her, 'Stay with me. You're not alone.'" Leora stared out the window, throat tightening. She hadn't even realized she'd said it. But maybe that's what people remember most in their worst moments. Not the equipment, not the skill, the human voice that refuses to let them disappear. The SUV turned onto a quieter road, and Adrian spoke again, still controlled, but something sharp lived underneath it. "There's something you should know," he said, eyes forward. "My sister didn't collapse randomly." Leora's stomach dropped. Adrian's jaw tightened. "Someone hurt her." He paused, then added, "And the moment you walked away from that rooftop, you stepped into a story far bigger than a ruined engagement." Leora's fingers curled in her lap. Because suddenly, she wasn't just heartbroken. She was afraid. The next morning, the hospital smelled like disinfectant and quiet panic. Leora walked the hallway slower than she normally would. Not because she was tired, but because her mind wouldn't stop replaying Adrian's words. Someone hurt her. When she reached the ICU doors, Adrian was already there, standing like a guard who hadn't slept. He didn't greet her with small talk. He just nodded once and said, "She's awake." Leora stepped inside. The young woman in the bed, Mina Vale, looked nothing like the version Leora had fought for in surgery. Her skin had color now. Her eyes were open. There was life in her face. But there was also fear. Mina's gaze landed on Leora and softened instantly, as if her body remembered safety before her brain could explain it. "You're the voice," Mina whispered. Leora swallowed. "I'm here." Mina's fingers trembled as they reached for the blanket. "I thought I was going to disappear." "You didn't," Leora said quietly. "You stayed." Mina stared at the ceiling for a long moment, as if choosing which truth to say first. Then she said, barely audible, "It wasn't an accident." Adrian's jaw tightened, but he let her speak. Mina's voice shook. "I was on my way home from work. I got on the wrong bus because I didn't want anyone to follow me." Leora's stomach turned. Mina continued, eyes glassy. "I've been trying to report something. About a man who has connections. People don't want to hear it. They keep telling me to stay quiet." She paused, swallowing hard. "Last night, someone grabbed me near the bus stop. I felt a sharp sting, like a shot. Then everything went cold." Leora's fingers curled into her palm. Because she knew what that meant. Not a random collapse. Not bad luck. A deliberate attempt to silence a woman. Mina turned her head slightly toward Leora, voice breaking. "And the worst part? I remember thinking, nobody's going to fight for me." Her eyes met Leora's. "Then I heard you. And you fought." Leora didn't have a clever response. She only said what was true. "You're not alone anymore." The pressure starts immediately. By lunchtime, the hospital felt different. Not in a visible way, no alarms, no shouting. But in the way nurses went quiet when someone important walked by. In the way staff started double-checking doors. In the way a rumor moves faster than facts. Dr. Hargrove called Leora into his office again, shutting the door behind her. His expression was careful, like he was trying to protect her without promising protection. "Leora," he said, "there are questions being asked. Mina Vale is a high-profile patient. People will want statements. The hospital will want everything clean." Leora's chest tightened. "I didn't do anything wrong." "I know," Hargrove said. "That's not always the point." He slid a folder across the desk. "A complaint came in this morning. Anonymous. It says you abandoned a personal obligation to chase attention, and that you're inserting yourself into the Vale family for personal gain." Leora stared at the paper. It was the same kind of cruelty, just in a new outfit. The old accusation dressed up as professionalism. You're ambitious. You're inappropriate. You're too much. Hargrove sighed. It'll be reviewed. Likely dismissed. But it's going to rattle you. Leora's voice went flat. Who filed it? Hargrove didn't answer directly. He didn't have to. Because Leora already knew what kind of people attack your reputation when they can't control your body. The kind of people who punish you for choosing duty over their comfort. Evan tries to return, but Leora finally sees him clearly. That evening, as Leora walked out near the employee entrance, someone stepped out of the shadows. Leora. Evan. He looked rougher than the rooftop version. Tie gone, hair undone, confidence cracked at the edges. He took a step toward her. Please just listen. I didn't know. I didn't understand what happened. My mom, she panicked. Everyone panicked. Leora didn't move. But you didn't. Evan blinked. What? You didn't panic, Leora said calmly. You chose. You chose what was easiest in the moment. His voice rose, desperate. I was under pressure. And I was in an operating room, Leora replied. Under pressure. With someone's life in my hands. Evan swallowed. So that's it? You're throwing us away because of one night. Leora looked him in the eye, and her answer came out gentle, but final. It wasn't one night. It was one truth. She stepped around him. And for the first time, Evan didn't reach for her. Because even he could feel it. There was nothing left to grab. Over the next week, Mina regained strength. Adrian didn't hover. He didn't overwhelm. He just showed up the way people rarely do. Consistently. Quietly. Without demanding anything in return. One day, Leora came off shift to find a small paper cup of tea waiting at the nurse's station with a simple note. For the person who stayed when it was hard. No signature. But she knew. And something inside her loosened. Because she realized she'd been living too long in a world where love was conditional. Where support came with strings. Where approval depended on how small you could make yourself. Now, for the first time, she was seeing another kind of presence. The kind that doesn't panic when your life gets messy. The kind that doesn't disappear when you're tired. The kind that doesn't punish you for being who you are. Late one night, Mina asked Leora to close the curtain and lean in closer. Her voice was steadier now, but her eyes were serious. There's one more thing, Mina whispered. Leora's stomach tightened. What? Mina hesitated, then said. The person who grabbed me said a name. Adrian went still. Leora felt her pulse in her throat. Mina swallowed. And then she whispered the name, soft but sharp enough to cut. Maribel. Leora froze. Because it wasn't just her engagement that night. It was her warning. And suddenly Leora understood. She hadn't simply walked away from the wrong family. She might have walked away from something far darker, hiding underneath their smiles. Leora didn't sleep that night. Because Mina Vale had whispered a name that didn't make sense, until it did. Maribel. The same Maribel who built a wall of relatives to block Leora from her own engagement party. The same Maribel who could switch from cruelty to sweetness the moment power arrived. The same Maribel who treated women like they were either useful or disposable. And now Mina was saying that name like it belonged in a darker story. One that had nothing to do with love and everything to do with control. Leora went to work the next morning with a calm face and a roaring mind. Because she finally understood. Sometimes, you don't escape a bad relationship. You escape a whole system. The meeting Mina didn't want, but needed. Mina asked for a private meeting in her recovery room. Just her, Leora, and Adrian. When the curtain closed, Mina's fingers twisted the edge of the blanket. I didn't see the person's face clearly, she admitted. But I heard the voice. And I heard the way they spoke, like they weren't afraid. Adrian's expression stayed steady, but his hands tightened. Mina continued, forcing each word out like it cost her something. They said, you should have listened. This is what happens when you get stubborn. Leora's stomach clenched, because that sentence wasn't just violence. It was punishment. Mina looked at Leora directly. And then they said a name. Like a signal. Like someone they were reporting to. She swallowed. Maribel. No dramatic music. No screaming. Just the quiet sound of three people realizing the same ugly possibility at the same time. Adrian nodded once. I'll handle this the right way, he said. Lawyers. Security. Evidence. Mina flinched. They'll come for me again. Leora leaned in, voice low and certain. No, she said. Not if we stop treating fear like it's normal. The trap at the hospital and why Leora refused to step into it 2 days later. Leora was called into an informal discussion with hospital administration. The conference room was bright, clean, and cold. A legal representative sat with a folder. A manager smiled too politely. And near the far end of the table was a woman Leora did not expect to see again. Maribel Cross. She wore a soft blouse, neutral makeup, and a wounded expression, like she was the one who needed saving. "Dr. Bennett," Maribel said gently, "I came because I'm worried about you." Leora almost laughed at the performance. Maribel continued, voice smooth. "You've been under a lot of stress. Maybe you misinterpreted that night. Maybe you're mixing personal feelings into professional spaces." Leora realized what this was. Not reconciliation. A reset. They wanted to reframe the story so Leora looked unstable, emotional, unreliable. So anything Mina said later would sound like a frightened woman backed by an unbalanced doctor. Leora didn't raise her voice. She didn't insult Maribel. She simply said one sentence that changed the temperature in the room. "I want this meeting documented, and I want my attorney present before another word is spoken." Maribel's expression flickered. Just for a second. Not sadness. Annoyance. Because Leora hadn't walked into the trap. She stood up, nodded to the administrators, and left. And the moment the door shut behind her, she felt something powerful. Not revenge. Freedom. Evan's last attempt and Leora's final answer. Evan caught her outside, near the parking structure. He looked exhausted, like someone whose life was collapsing in slow motion. "Leora, my mom is being questioned," he whispered. "People are saying things. You have to help me." Leora stared at him. Once, that sentence would have pulled her back in, because she used to confuse love with responsibility. But now she saw it clearly. He wasn't asking how she was. He wasn't apologizing. He was asking her to clean up the mess his family created. "I can't lose everything," Evan said, voice shaking. Leora's reply was quiet. "You already chose what to lose," she said. "You lost me the night you watched them shame me," and said nothing. Evan's eyes filled. "I loved you." Leora nodded slowly. "Maybe you did," she said. "But love without courage is just a feeling that saves itself." Then she walked away. And she didn't look back. The resolution without a fairy tale. The investigation didn't become a public spectacle. Not yet. But it became something better. Real. Mina received protection. Statements were taken. Timelines were built. Hospital security tightened around her wing. And for the first time since this started, Mina slept through the night. One afternoon, Mina asked Leora something unexpected. "Why did you come back?" she said. "After everything with Evan, after the way they treated you?" Leora thought for a moment. Then she answered honestly. "Because I refuse to live in a world where doing the right thing makes you smaller." Adrian watched her with a look that wasn't romantic, wasn't pushy. Just respectful, like he finally understood what kind of person she was. And that mattered more than any dramatic confession. Some people will only value you when your goodness benefits them. And the moment your integrity costs them comfort, they'll try to punish you for it. So here's the real question. Are you building your life around people who celebrate your character, or people who tolerate it until it inconveniences them? Because love that demands you abandon your conscience isn't love. It's control, wearing a friendly face. And the day you stop begging to be accepted by the wrong room is the day the right door finally opens. If this story reminded you that your kindness is not a weakness, please remember this. The right people won't punish you for being good, that they'll protect you while you stay good. If you want more life-changing stories with heart, truth, and powerful lessons, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been judged for doing the right thing, and what did it teach you?